Old school Keanu Reeves. My favorite. I gotta say, his current filmography is great. But it's nothing compared to some of his greats back in the 1990s, especially this classic action thriller. Speed. I actually at first didn't know that this movie existed. All I heard from it was that it was considered one of the greatest action movies ever, and it starred Keanu Reeves. It appeared on my recommendations one day, and so I decided to give it a go. I didn't know what I was expecting, but oh boy. Even if he was only 29 filming this classic, Keanu simply makes this a blast. I'm so happy that I decided to give this one a go. If I could rewatch this movie, I would definitely do it again. It inspired lots of fast-paced, stunt-like action sequences, and while the script may have been simple on paper, on screen it makes for a very creative premise. So, what makes Speed one of the greatest action movies ever made? How did it see the breakthrough role of Keanu Reeves? And why did it become a cult classic in the following years? In today's movie review, I will be talking about the classic suspenseful action thriller, Speed. Get ready for some wording on one of my personal favourite movies of all time. First off, the absolute greatest quality that this movie has to offer. The suspense is top notch. Once all hell breaks loose, it becomes an insane action thriller. It just never ends. The film's opening sequence with Jack and Harry preventing a bombing on a city elevator containing 13 people was a sign of warning that this movie was going to be daunting. That's only the beginning part. One moment you're witnessing an elevator with passengers on board quickly escaping, but then the film amps it up with you looking at a city bus that will explode if its speed drops below 50 miles per hour. It just never ends. You just keep asking yourself, what happens next? Because it just keeps on giving. But once you think it's ended after Jack saves all the bus passengers, it still has lots to give out because Jack also has to deal with Howard Payne, who is behind all of this. The stakes are very high here, delivering some awesome action scenes and stunts with constant tension and fast pacing. This was basically the film that inspired the suspenseful elements and car chase sequences that you'd see today in modern cinema. The action sequences in this movie are flawless. Adding to my previous point about the suspense being outstanding, it makes good use of it. It has constant tension and non-stop scenery. There's lots of it that will keep viewers engaged, like the opening sequence, the entire bus scene throughout all the film, and eventually the climax with Jack defeating Howard Payne once and for all. But things aren't over yet, as Jack saves Annie and they both rise the hijacked train after realizing they can't stop it due to its controls being badly damaged. It ends up crashing through the wall and finally ends there. The whole idea of this movie is shockingly amazing. I'm just stunned on how well they were able to execute such a simple concept onto the big screen. And also, the set pieces are fantastic, blending lots of stunt set pieces. They've all aged very well. It also uses effective practical effects and doesn't rely heavily on cheap editing or CGI. It was a huge effort for filmmaking back in the day, as it kept costs low. It really makes you feel like you're part of the action. This film also has some amazing voice performances that add very well with not just the characters' chemistry, but also their development. Let's talk about its main 3 stars. Keanu Reeves is an absolute star here, and I could very well consider this film to be his breakthrough role because it rose him to fame into becoming an action star. Even if he was much different back then, as he filmed this when he was 29 years old, he is still incredibly badass in every shape or form, portraying his character, Jack Traven, with lots of charm and a very heroic movement. Jack is a protagonist done right, and the story isn't just about him, but plenty of others as well. I also absolutely enjoyed Dennis Hooper as Howard Payne. He was written as an extremely fantastic villain. He manages to be very funny, but that alone doesn't make him any less intimidating as the main antagonist because it gives off that strong vibe of you hating him so much, being a very greedy businessman and constantly pushing Jack into action. Finally, Sandra Bullock as Annie Potter works very great here as an ingenious passenger, doing plenty of work here, and her chemistry with Jack Traven is definitely a highlight. None of the characters are wasted at all. They get their chance to shine at least once. What Speed also manages to have is a very good story. It focuses on a city bus that will explode if its speed drops below 50 miles per hour. Yes, at first it looks like one of the most boring movies on paper, with a simple concept that barely does anything. However, after you've seen the film, you'll wish that action movies like this had this strong told story again. It's not just about the bus, but also the consequences that are followed along the way. The hidden dangers of going so fast and the obstacles that are faced along the way, proving that a simple task isn't as easy as it looks. Just imagine if your car had a bomb stuck onto the bottom and it will go off the moment it drops below a certain speed level. Exactly. It's all very intense and always keeps you engaged. Jack also has to deal with extortionist Howard Payne, who was in charge of it all. And at the end, Jack could only save everyone by evacuating them all off the bus and also looping the footage on Payne's monitors that's showing the footage. It comes with very strong actions at plenty of costs. It's an interesting idea and will for sure make you want to experience it again. Finally, this movie manages to blend its engaging scenery with all of its intact genres, including realism, which includes its suspense, action, humor, drama, and acceleration. The effective direction combines with award-winning sound and editing, in which it won 2 categories at the Academy Awards, Best Sound and Best Sound Effects Editing. It's a non-stop thriller that has extremely high replay value from start to finish. The pacing is also excellent. It's not too fast, it has its moments to slow down a bit, it's always action-packed to ensure that the viewers don't get tired of it fast, and the stunts are amazing, with camera work that never comes off as shaky, as if it was to show how intense this evacuation mission really was. And wasted. The moment I started watching this, I did not want to stop looking at it. It always manages to have something for all viewers. Until the credits finally start rolling, it will always keep you on your toes. Speed is one of the greatest action movies ever. It's a perfect example of how a simple concept can become one of the most unique movies in its genre. This is what basically inspired the entire car chase sequences in modern day cinema, so you've got this to thank for spawning a huge set of action thrillers. To this day, the suspense hits very hard and never stops until it's over. The plot is extremely creative and not basic in any circumstances. The character chemistry is amazing. The stunts hit very hard for a high-octane story, the replay value is amazing from start to finish, and it blends realism with all of its explored elements. This is basically a full story of how Keanu Reeves rose to fame as one of the most beloved actors to date. He's also one of the few actors where the majority of his filmography I've never really disliked, and there's always a sense of enjoyment. This one is no exception, and it proudly changed everything that you will expect to see in an action movie forever. Even for a movie released in the 90s, it is still highly rewatchable as it's aged extremely well, and it currently sits as one of my personal favourite movies of all time. Speed is a must-watch for any hardcoreists that are looking for an always rewatchable thriller. Directed by Jane de Bond's high-octane script and an old but gold police force team led by the legendary Keanu Reeves, Speed keeps your eyes on the road from start to finish. My final score for this timeless experience is a 10 out of 10 and a grade S. It's an extremely good action film and one of the genre's best. I have no idea how I became such a huge fan of this movie. I had little expectations going into it, and it overwhelmed me a bit. Keanu Reeves simply makes this a blast. What a recommendation. But with that being said, leave a like on this video if you guys did enjoy my review on Speed, and also remember to subscribe if you're new and hit that bell icon to see more content on my channel. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you all later. Take care of yourselves.